I'm going to talk you through a really useful tool that I use when I'm looking at a buy to sell strategy. It's called PESTLE, P-E-S-T-L-E. P is political. The question is, when we're doing a buy to sell strategy, what is the environment we're working in? We need to look at the outside environment before we then look at how we can do buy to sell ourselves. Politically, what do we know? We know the guys are going to call a general election soon, and we know they're going to want us to feel wealthy until that happens. Why is that important to me when I'm doing a buy to sell strategy? I know that politically our country is going to want to remain feeling wealthy for 18 months to 2 years. That gives me a time frame. I can work within that time frame and set my strategy as a 2-year buy to sell strategy. Economically, well, we know what's happened. We've had the recession, Britain has come out of the recession, and now people are very hot to buy property. London prices are rising like crazy. Bristol is a very strong economic push for houses. What does that mean for me? It means that buyers are there and they're buying super fast. In the last 2 years, I haven't had to wait more than 11 days for any property to sell. And frankly, if it hasn't sold within the first week, I'm like a madam with a tiara. I'm like, what's going on? Get it to sell. So economically, people are going fast to buy property. And I know that my return on capital employed, which is a function of time and profit, so my return on the capital I use is going to be much higher at the moment. As a result, I am driving a very fast, high growth buy to sell strategy for the next 2 years. Socially, who are you selling to? Most people will think they're selling to a first-time buyer, but actually I'm going to ask why. Why are you going to sell to a first-time buyer who probably doesn't have a large deposit, doesn't have the experience, the lawyers were going to run rings around them, they're going to be slow, they're going to get investor wobble, they may have kids in the future and they know their budget is constrained. Why is that your sexy objective? I would be suggesting that you want to be selling to the 55-year-olds and above. Those guys have experience of buying houses, those guys have funds because they're often downsizing, and those guys understand that they never in their life want to do another refurb, and they're extremely grateful for you to having done a brilliant refurb that they can move straight into. So socially, I'm interested in the 55-year-old market. I still, a bit like Nivea, a bit like the face creams, I still dress it as if they're 29, because 40 is the new 30, 50 is the new 40 is the new 50, but you're really looking at a 50-year-old market if you possibly can. Now, the other thing around social is who are your key decision makers? And if any of you guys want to raise your hands at home and suggest it's the man in the room, good luck, because I'm going to guess 99.9% of the time, if there's a woman involved, she's the one saying, honey, I need this home. So socially, you've got the woman making the decision. The guy might be a part of that, and that's wonderful if he is, but she is the core decision maker. On top of that, who are the people that are supporting her decision making? It will be her husband or her partner, but her children, her family, her mum, her sisters, and her friends. Now the question is for you, why is that important for me as a buy to sell investor? How are those people who are going to support the woman, who's the primary decision maker, going to actually allow her to understand that they support her decision? They're going to see that property online, and you need to get fantastic photos online so that she will send them a link, they will look at it and they'll say, hun, that's beautiful, go for it. And that will support her decision making. So social is actually quite interesting because it's about your type of buyer, which is not your perceived normal buyer, your first-time buyer. Go for an older market, and understanding that it's the woman that's usually going to make the decision, and a number of women around her that are going to support that decision. So you need to retail the property beautifully, you need to photograph the property beautifully, and you need to understand you're selling to ladies. Where are you going to understand that? Go to the high street. Understand how the high street retails and bring those kind of techniques back into your own buy to sell. Technological is clear, isn't it? Is the internet. You must employ a professional photographer. I always write my own marketing spec, which I then get the estate agents to sign off, if you like, because of the Estate Agency Act. But the internet and the presentation on the internet is the #1 indicator for getting the most amount of viewings, and the most amount of viewings gives you the most amount of properties offered. The two that count less are actually legal and environmental. At this stage, my perception of analysing the outside environment is that legally, as long as you have a decent lawyer and understand that you need to be pushing along their lawyer, there's not much that you can do to affect that process. And environmentally, there are very few people at this stage that buy a house on environmental grounds. Obviously, you need your EPC, but frankly, it's not a major deal at this stage. However, the legal and the environmental are two aspects that I keep a strong eye on, because at any one time, the zeitgeist may change and those aspects may become really important to buy to sell. So that's the tool I use for buy to sell: PESTLE, political, economic, social, technological, legal and environmental. And I focus on the first four: political, economic, social and technological. And as a result, I always ask, what does it mean for me? And how can I improve my projects in order to hit that external marketplace?